What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today I'll be doing yet another comparison review, this time of two beers from the Brew Kettle, and they are headquartered in Middleburg Heights, Ohio, and I have their White Rajah and their Double Rajah. So White Rajah is a West Coast-style IPA that comes in at 6.8% alcohol by volume and 70 IBUs. While Double Rajah is a double strong IPA that comes in at 8.5% alcohol by volume and 80 IBUs. At the time of review, I don't know exactly how old these cans are, and that's not because these don't have a can-on date. They do, but the can-on date, and I don't know if it's going to show up on camera, probably not, my camera's not great, but it's this bright yellow font. But that's not the issue. The issue is how it's printed is basically unreadable. Like, I can't read what it says at all. I've tried it in all kinds of different lights. I just can't tell. However, I did pick both of these up at Red Wine and Brew in Mentor, Ohio, and they do a great job typically with rotating the stock of local IPAs like these two beers. So I'm hoping that they're quite fresh, but I really don't know. Now, full disclosure, I've had White Rajah too many times to count. I have checked it in 3 times on Untapped between early 2014 and late 2015. I think this is a fantastic IPA. And when it comes to, classic IPAs from the state of Ohio, this is one of my favorites. I know a lot of people out there love like Headhunter from Fatheads, and I always thought this was better. Yeah, I just said that. I know a lot of people won't agree, but I always thought this was slightly better than Headhunter. And every time I go to Ohio, I typically pick up at least a can of this. I used to pick up a 6-pack. Now, I had no idea they had a double version. I actually saw an entire variety pack that had these two. I think their Light Rajah, and I think it was their Mango Rajah. And I also saw a Jalapeno Rajah. So they've turned this into a whole lineup of like IPAs, like a lot of breweries do. And I say they're headquartered in Middleburg Heights, Ohio, because that's what it says on the cans. However, I went to, I think it was the original location in Strongsville, Ohio, and they have like, I think 6 or 7 now like tap rooms across Ohio, including one in the aforementioned Mentor, Ohio. I had no idea, so I'll have to check it out next time I go to Mentor. But anyway, this is going to be a long review. It's a side-by-side in the Beer Patrol. It means like 20+ minute review, and are you guys here for it? Probably not. I am, though. So, like I said, this is a West Coast-style IPA, White Rajah, 6.8%, 70 IBUs. They don't list the hops, but I just remember this being like a classic, honestly. Did not open great, but we should be okay with the pour here. So I'm going to pour probably somewhere around like half of this, because I'm going to do at the end the cuvee, aka the covey, and I'll make sure that, we have enough beer left over for that. And then the Double Rajah, I think this is a relatively new beer. Has about 1,000 check-ins, somewhere around that on Tap. And on top of that, I just never heard of this one, and I would have thought that I would have at some point. So, kind of weird that I haven't. All right, I just want to make sure I have similar amounts, so when we do the cuvee, make sure that everything is pretty even. And I think that should be good. So what am I expecting out of this review? I really don't know. I'm expecting White Rajah to hopefully be just as good as I remember it. But at the same time, the last time I had this beer is probably like 2018, 2019. So it's been like 6 years, basically pre-pandemic. So anyway, these two beers, how do they look? Well, they look somewhat similar, but also somewhat different. This, I don't know how it's going to come off on camera. This is definitely lighter, the White Rajah. The Double's a little darker. This has more of a yellow-orange color. Kind of looks like a lower ABV. This definitely looks like an old school double IPA. Has that honey orange, deep honey orange color. Both of them have a finger of this off-white, super creamy looking head. They both have some haze to them. I would say that the base White Rajah has more clarity to it, but they both do have a little bit of clarity, but they both have haze. For sure, decent carbonation. They both look really nice. We'll put this over here, and I will get a nose on the base. This smells super fresh. Like I said, I don't know how old these cans are, but off the rip, there's no way like this is like a 6-month-old can. Just intense, like an intense combination of white bread, and that's not a huge intensity, but like definitely white bread. It has a little bit of malt, maybe a touch of caramel, then gobs of citrus. And I'm talking sweet, kind of like, not even sweet, but like just like a ruby red grapefruit juice, maybe a little bit of the pith, a sweeter orange juice, tangerine. It's heavy on the citrus. This is an old school, definitely an old school West Coast IPA. And then on the finish, it has that piney kind of floral aspect. And then when I say finish, I mean like after I smell all that intense citrus and white bread, it has a piney, sprucey kind of feel to it as well. You're going to see these probably a week apart or maybe 4 or 5 days apart. But recently I just did the 2 spruce tip beers from Cinderlands, and the spruce was evident in both beers, but more so in the hazy. I'm getting like a sprucey scent. After having those beers and also the Masthead all day, or Slay all day IPA with spruce tips, this definitely smells sprucey and piney. Very aromatic, intense, punching me in the nostrils with a bunch of citrus, floral, kind of like resinous pine and spruce. That smells awesome. And that's why I remember liking this more than Headhunter. Although I think doing a battle beer or head-to-head blind of White Rajah and Headhunter Fresh would be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Maybe even throw like Columbus's IPA. I think it was, who was it? Was it Curtis? Yeah, I think Curtis mentioned, no, it was actually Jonah. It was Jonah, 6-2 Beer Reviews. Go check him out. He mentioned that their base IPA is really good. I had it back in like 2014. I thought it was just okay, but back then I wasn't really craving West Coast IPAs as much, and it was a little bit lighter. But anyway, go back to this. Ooh. So this reminds me of old school double IPAs. I reviewed 90 Minute from Dogfish Head, had to say the last couple of years. And I remember that beer being very malt driven. And I remember that beer being a big malty, double IPA at 9%. This is 8.5, not far off. This reminds me, honestly, of 90 Minute. Lots of like caramel, white bread with a little bit of a brown bread tinge. But then, same as this, citrus, pine, floral. But this is more sweet citrus than that. Like this is definitely sweeter orange juice, tangerine, just a touch of grapefruit. There's also a little bit of like a pineapple in here too. Maybe a mango. And the piney kind of floral sprucey character is not as prevalent as the base. So this one seems like it might be a little bit older than this, but also it's almost 2% bigger. So it could just be that, there's more malt in this. It is an old school kind of rendition of that. It's a double version of White Rajah. But it smells good. It smells pretty well balanced. If you are somebody who likes bigger, maltier double IPAs, the nose of that smells spectacular. So anyway, let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. This beer is fucking delicious. Plain and simple. White Rajah is so delicious. Like, holy shit, man. This is going to be a longer review. Just, you guys know, it's a Beer PaTroll. I say that in all the longer reviews. Like, most of the people, the regulars here who watch, don't know that. I'm sure a lot of you watch me in 2x speed or just fast forward, and that's cool. I get it. But I like to talk a lot, clearly. I like to hear myself talk, clearly. But I don't understand how a beer like this and a beer like Bodhi from Columbus Brewing Company that I reviewed recently, I don't understand how these still don't have the love that like a celebration, man. Celebration from Sierra Nevada. Every year, everybody waxes poetic, including myself, about that beer. But I think beers like this, beers like the Columbus Bodhi, beers like the aforementioned Fathead's Headhunter, people kind of forget about those beers because now they're shelfies and they make a bunch of different variants of them and whatnot, but they're still delicious in their own right. This is a delicious West Coast-style IPA. Body on this is like medium body, 6.8%. I'm fine with it. The mouthfeel, it is really effervescent. It has like a moderate to touch over moderate carbonation, dancing on the tongue, very crisp beer, smooth on the palate as well. Just a beautiful mouthfeel on this one. The body is appropriate as well, but the mouthfeel really sets it off. And then the taste, the nose carried over. This is not a hard beer to review because it is simply put a very well-constructed West Coast-style IPA. White bread, for sure, dives underneath the palate, and then over top of that, just gobs and waves of citrus, both sweet and bitter. More of a bittering kind of like white grapefruit, maybe a little bit of a sweeter ruby red, sweeter and juicier ruby red grapefruit. There is sweet orange juice, tangerine juice, something in that realm. That's the first half of the palate. After that, I do get a little bit of like a mango or a peach, a touch of a stone fruit in here. But then it continues on to the end where I get this beautiful piney, resinous kind of floral quality. This finish is firmly bitter. It's like a moderate to maybe full-on bitter, like somewhere in that realm. It's not killing my palate, but with each sip, the bitterness is building up, the dryness is building up. This is firmly dry. This is a very dry and bitter beer, but it doesn't, to me, detract from the drinkability because I want to go back and drink it, which makes it more drinkable, which would make it the drinkability high. You rinse and repeat, you go through those beautiful flavor, the beautiful flavor profile, and then it dries out. The bittering aspect kind of kicks up a notch, and you want to go back for more. 6.8%. Yeah, I would say this is in the 6.5%, 7% realm based on what I'm tasting. This is kind of in that realm of, again, like Headhunter from Fatheads being 7.5. Kind of, in that I'd say like 6.5 to 7.5% realm, where it's not quite a double, but it's a little bigger than a single. It's kind of in that in between. Although 7.5 is technically imperial. I don't know. All the rules are weird nowadays, but I think 7.5 is technically imperial, but most people think double is, or 8% is actually double. But anyway, that's delicious. No questions asked. I've always thought this was better than Headhunter, and over the years, I've actually come to enjoy it more as I've been enjoying more West Coast style IPAs, and it still just hits me in the feels. That is a great beer, and that is the definition of a shelfie, especially in the state of Ohio. Cleanse the palate, and we will take down the Double Rajah. Cheers. Yeah, for sure. It's essentially that with a bigger malt base, higher ABV. Just it's tasty, but I'll tell you right off the rip, that is the winner. I don't even have to sit here. That is the winner. This is still really nice. Now, in my mind, I am comparing this to Bodhi because it's the closest comparison as far as things I've reviewed recently. By the time you see this review, it would be like a 2-week difference. And when I reviewed Bodhi to this, Bodhi, off of these first 2 sips, Bodhi is definitely better than this, just being honest with you. Body, mouthfeel. Body's like higher side of medium, lower side of full, appropriate for 8.5%. The mouthfeel is akin to this, moderate, maybe a touch over moderate carbonation, dances on the tongue, smooth. So mouthfeel is very comparable. I think the body is appropriate. So body and mouthfeel on both these beers are exactly where they need to be. The taste on this one, though, again, if I went back and watched my 90-minute review from Dogfish Head, I probably said a lot of the same things. This is a little bit more malt-driven. However, this could be a bit of older can. Like I said, I don't know the can down dates, but it drinks like it has a little bit of age to it because the hops aren't expressing themselves probably as much as the base. Definitely not as much as the base. Not probably, definitely. But you still get the hop character. It's still here. It's just not as, dare I say, bombastic. Shout out to Paul over at PA Brewdus that I think it should be based on the ABV, the IBUs, and the fact that it's a double in general. But up front, where this has white bread, this has like a white bread into darker bread, like a brown bread. Maybe you could say marbled bread. But it does have a little bit of caramel, a little bit of that, caramelized sugar kind of sweetness from the malts. After that, the citrus is here, but it's more of a, I find more of like a rindy, pithy grapefruit and orange. That's the first thing that hits me. As it passes through, though, sweet pineapple and a little bit of mixed berry, a little bit different from the fruit aspect. But the finish does have a floral, resinous pine kind of finish. It's just not as prevalent as the base. And I would like to see it a little bit more prevalent, the actual hop character that is the floral, piney, kind of almost sprucey characteristic, because I think it'd help out, balance this beer out a little bit more. Now, the dryness and the bitterness are very, very similar. It's very akin to the base. It has that firm dryness. It has a moderate to a touch over moderate bitterness. So this has a good balance, don't get me wrong. I just think the hop character, as far as the flavor itself, needs to be a little bit more intense and like punching me in the face with it, because it is a bigger beer at 8.5%. If I'm going to drink a double as opposed to a single, I want just more intensity as a whole. But the lack of that hop character and the fact that this is so easy to drink is a bit scary. Yeah, it's six, like I told you in this one, yeah, this is definitely in like the 6.5, 7 realm. This does not drink like it's 8.5%. There's a little bit of a warming in chest. I wouldn't guess over like 7.5, maybe even the 7 realm. It's like slightly bigger than this. That's the way I put it, like slightly bigger than the base as far as like the perceived alcohol as a whole from the palate into the chest. This didn't have a lot. This just has a little bit. So, and look at the glass lacing, definitely better than the base. Now, which one do I prefer between the two? Let me tell you right now, it's the base, but by how much? Let me go back in. I'm not even gonna cleanse my palate. Just go back in. There's no question. I think this is a bit fresher, maybe by like a couple weeks, maybe a month. It's just more vibrant on the palate, plain and simple. This is still good. And if this has significant age on it, like 3-4 months, maybe even 6 months, this is drinking extremely well for something that old. I think it's probably, I would say this is like a couple months old, maybe a little bit older, and this is probably like a month old, maybe 6 weeks. The base is definitely tastes fresher. But as far as a rating goes, for the base White Rajah, ladies and gentlemen, I love this beer. I do. I think it's a fantastic old school West Coast-style IPA from the Midwestern region of the U.S., more specifically Ohio, and I still like it more than base Headhunter. I've liked like the wet hopped Headhunter probably just as much as this, but the base Headhunter, I need to there's beers I need to re-review. Headhunter's one of them. Mine Haze from Firestone Walker. I get a lot of comments about people loving that beer. I thought it was a disappointing beer. Definitely it was a shelfy hazy IPA. I need to review some. So maybe in 2025, like once a month or maybe a couple times a month, I'll do a re-review of a beer that I had a differing opinion, or maybe I think I would have a better opinion of it now, or maybe even worse opinion. So we'll see. But White Rajah from the Brew Kettle, all day long, this is a low 4.5. I'm going to go 4.45. Why? Because why not? But White Rajah, 4.45. This is just, man. And again, I've been saying this lately, but I've been giving a lot of love to these old school, IPAs that are I consider classic, depending on the region in which you reside. And me drinking, craft beer from Ohio now for over 10 years, there are some absolute classics that sit on the shelves, and I see them every time I go to Red Wine and Brew, or I hit up a grocery store in Mentor or in Cleveland or another bottle shop. And this is one of those beers where it still holds up to this day. It really does. There's no question to me that is an amazing West Coast-style IPA. And yeah, I was gonna take one more sip. I don't need to take a sip on this. So the Double Rajah, give that a 4.5. This is gonna get a little bit lower, which is okay. But I'm gonna give this beer right here. I'm gonna give this I'll go high 4. I'll go 4.1. I think it's good. Whatever I gave Bodhi, 4.7, this does not touch Bodhi. But again, I don't know the freshness of this. And if this is fresh, would it touch Bodhi? I have no idea. But I do know this is nice. And I think if this was a little bit fresher, again, I'm going off of the preconceived notion here that I say don't do that a lot, but that this is a bit older, at least a couple months old. So I do think it's held up well if it is older. If this is like super fresh, maybe not, but still 4.1 for what I'm drinking. I just want a little bit more intensity as a whole to the beer, and I think I'm in heaven. So yeah, 4.45, 4.1. It's cuvee time. Now, usually, like an idiot, I'll try to drink these down and match them up. Well, when I poured them, they were equal. So whatever's left in these cans will go into the cuvee. That's how this works. We're going to pour them at the same time because chaos. And then I get to the point where I can't pour them at the same time. Somebody recently commented on one of my videos. I think it was the Southern Tier IPA and Double IPA, and I was like, man, I can't pour beer anymore. I spill it. Help me. And he was just like, no one gives a shit about your lack of ability of pouring the beer. Just give it a review. He's right. But you know what? You guys who have followed the channel for as long as you have, I can't even speak, I'm getting hammered already. As long as you have, it makes for a better reviewer, doesn't it? I don't know. Fuck me. But anyway, and that wasn't even me pouring it wrong. It was just me thinking I was cute and I was gonna, throw the rest of it in there, and I just totally missed the glass, but whatever. So the cuvee, how does that look? Kind of looks more like the double, if I'm being honest with you. And I spilled some of the excess. I think, honestly, I should probably pour a little bit of this in here. Probably like that. It's probably the amount I spilled, if I'm being honest. So how does that look? Yeah, I mean, it looks like that. The head retention, really nice, but the lacing is fantastic. So looks very akin to the double version. This smells awesome. This smells like someone took this beer with a little bit more malt character from here and just, it's basically what I wanted this beer to be. Yeah, it's basically this beer with a bigger malt character. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Yes. 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 Do that. Definitely do that. It's like I have this beer, but you bumped up the body. You bumped up the malt character a little bit more of that white bread, marble bread, but the intensity of the hop character stayed the same, and it has a beautiful balance. It just, this is what I wish the Double Rajah would have been, and maybe this is how it would have been if this was fresh, and again, I'm assuming this isn't super fresh, but I don't know, but this works. I would give the Cuvée like a 4.35, a 4.4, just on, I think I still prefer the base just a little bit, but this is kind of what I wanted the double to do. Yeah, so price point availability on these two. $10.99 a six-pack for the base, $11.99 a six-pack for the, or no wait, maybe it was $11.99, $12.99. Whatever, 11, 12 bucks, somewhere in that realm for the base, say 12 to 13 bucks for the double. Value-wise, you're getting more out of the double. It is bigger by 1.7% ABV. So you're definitely getting a better value, I think, with the Double Rajah. However, my preference is the White Rajah as a whole. So, but either way, it's a good price point. Availability, I'm pretty sure these are all throughout the state of Ohio. Like I said, they have, I think it's 6 or 7 tap rooms throughout the state. And next time I'm in Mentor, I might have to stop in to the one there because I've been to the Strongsville, Ohio location. I had a bunch of beers on tap back in like 2014 or 15. And it was really cool. They had some good food and I enjoyed it. So I need to maybe do that again, but at a different location. So I'll leave you with this. The base is still just as good as I thought it was and still probably my favorite single IPA from an Ohio brewery. As far as like an old school West Coast IPA or American IPA, the double is nice and I can see the influence of the base, but I do think unfortunately my can is a little bit older, so it wasn't as like intense as I thought it was going to be. A little bit more subdued in the hop character, but still really nice. 4.45, 4.1, and then the Cuvée, the mix between the two, I'll just say 4.35. But regardless, this was fun to do. Jonah over at 62 Beer Reviews, I don't know if he's done this yet. I'll have to go look through his backlog. It'd be cool to see him do it because I know he's from Ohio, even though he doesn't live there anymore. And Curtis, another viewer of the channel that him and I talk pretty much every day or every couple days, he is in the Columbus area, and I know he can get his hands on these. So I want you to review, or sorry, Curtis, I want you to revisit White Rajah or check out Double Rajah if you haven't. I'm sure you have already had. I just want to see if I'm crazy. And I think when I do start doing like head-to-heads and I get the whole blind to beer style tournament off the ground, and then I start doing like blind reviews, I think White Rajah versus Headhunter, both of them being like the same freshness, I think it would be a great head-to-head battle. I would just love to see that. And if I could get a fresh can of this Double Rajah versus Bodhi, I think that'd be another good like head-to-head to kind of do, or even Hop Juju versus Bodhi would be a fun one from a Fathead. So I am going to shut down this extremely long side-by-side as it always is on the Beer Patrol. This was so much fun to do. I had a great time. I didn't even cleanse my palate to do the Cuvée, but we're going to do it now. Or did I cleanse it? I don't remember. Didn't do anything because it's still delicious. So again, if you've had either of these beers, if you've ever did a side-by-side of these two beers, post in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you. Like I said, there's a lot of folks in Ohio that watch the channel that I know and that I talk to quite frequently. And I know you guys have had these beers because these are classics. Post in the comment section. I want to hear from you guys. Anyway, to the next one. Cheers. Did I say about the ABV? Definitely, like I said, you could feel it, the double, a little bit on the palate and in the chest, but only slightly, where I don't really feel the base. Same thing with this Cuvée, you can't really feel it. So all of these beers, and by all of them I mean these two, but also the Cuvée, hide the alcohol quite well. And that's a good thing, because if you want to session any of these, you're not going to run into trouble of like your palate being blown up from an alcohol astringency or too much of a warming. Anyway, cheers.